Let me just give you a bit of a background of this research. So about the context of the just transition in the European Union. In the aim of to achieve the target, the objective of the target by 2050, the Paris Agreement, the European Commission, at the end of 2018, launched the European Green Program for Radical Technological Energy and Economic Transformation. Of course, the green transition entails huge social and employment challenges. There is the need to consider the vulnerability of different social groups, which can be pre-existing future, and to address the employment consequence of this process of the transition. As economists, we know that the green transition has a huge impact on employment levels on patients with industries and tough variety. So it can have a negative consequence. And so it can be created, for instance, to phase out of polluting economic and productive activities. So there is an increasing need of supporting policy actions to ensure that no one is left behind, is moved towards this a more sustainable economy. So just to give you an overview about this new financial tool that has been introduced in 2021 by the European Union, the Just Transition Fund, which has the specific aim to achieve, with the European Union to achieve its climate targets by helping regions and the located workers most affected by the transition, essentially by providing direct financial support for economic workers, upskilling and reskilling, with a total allocation of more than 7 euros. And the objectives, the key objectives of the programs are, as I said, economic extension, work skilling, and providing also overall. What about the requirements? Jump very fast because later on in the presentation, each territory must develop a comprehensive territorial plan, get the funding, through also a participatory process involving workers' representatives and the what is the specific object of our study? We have tried to preliminary assess the policy implementation, the state of implementation of active labor market policies under the context of this Just Transition Program 2021-2027, with the aim of identify challenges and any implementation deficiencies in each. Particularly our specific on upskilling and reskilling policy initiatives funded by the European Just Transition Fund develop the new green skills in order to support workers in this process of adapting structural changes both in the labor market, in the economy by the green transition. As we know, this is a crucial part, this Just Transition Program, which is indeed aims to support the transition, so to ensure that it happens in a socially just. In particular, we examine the state of implementation of these upskilling policy initiatives in specific target regions in Italy, Spain and Germany in three important European countries. What about the methodologies? This is a qualitative study. I mean, we basically integrate desk research to get preliminary general information about different sources about the policy implementation, with more detailed information gathered through some interviews carried out with some key states. And then, of course, since the specific regions examinations have been characterized over the last decade by heterogeneous labor market dynamics, of course, in research, also in presenting samples in results, we have taken out, we have integrated some results from the region and regional economic area. Okay, before going more in depth in the results analysis, let me just give just insights about the most recent European employment. I mean, as we know, only the green transition, but the factors have highly influenced the labor market trends, labor market dynamics the last decades. I mean, changes in structures, in global value chains, changes in national settings, particularly the policies of liberalization of markets without many European countries, Italy in particular. So if we, the key trends that have been highlighted by the research are a process of upskilling, increase of the demand for high skill, a process of downgraded growth jobs, and a decline in the middle class, which has led to a polarization in the market. The interesting thing that these trends are very heterogeneous across European countries and also a predominant trend. In what we have this. So, what about the specific countries and regions of our study? Of course, if we look at the graphs, particularly the first graph A, which show the average annual growth rate of employment occupations, considering 4 occupational according ISCO classification, so we distinguish between managers, clerks, crafts, and manual workers. We can see that if we look at the European Union as a whole, we can see a clear process of upskilling in action. A sharp increase of the number of managers and clerks, while the number of manual workers is only slightly increased, and the number of crafts is we are talking about the general growth rate between 2002 2008. Spain and Germany follow similar path, while in Italy we can see a process of polarization, increase of managers and clerks, but also of manual work. And if we take a look at the graph B, which shows the percentage change in occupational shares, we can see that particularly in Italy, the the rise of managers and workers has been, happened at the expense, at the expense of craft. I very, I don't show you further insights, but I can say that we have looked at also the trends regarding the specific region are the target of the research fund. What we have found, basically, in Spain, most regions follow a pattern of in accordance with general trend emerging at the national level, but with the exception of those regions which are involved in the just transition. The same in Germany, while in Italy, there is a equivalent pattern. The regions, including those objective of the Just Transition Fund, of polarization. As I was saying, of course, the labor market in transition is huge, and so there is a great need to identify the affected occupations. What are the green jobs, the green skills which are required, which are going to highly required in the labor market, which is also important to effective employment. But there is a big issue on this point because we have a challenge in defining green jobs because of a lack of a universal definition what represent a green occupation or a green skill, and so we have different measurement approach which also leads to a variety of estimates. The spectrum goes from 2% to 40% of the total workforce. If we take a look at the literature on this table, just gives an overview of the main approach that identified in the literature. Tried, to job one provides a specific definition of green employment, advantages and disadvantages, technologies, the authors and so on. Big heterogeneity, which also leads to a variety of estimates and results. So, starting to go more in depth about implementation of the just transition. 3 countries examination in research, starting from Italy. We have just target regions, target territories, which are the Dulcis Iglesiente in Sardinia and the province of Taranto with more than 1 billion located, divided between territories. The Dulcis Iglesiente area will receive that under 100 million euros, about 30% of the funding, while Taranto province approximately 800. The priorities have been set up of the territorial plans. The regional managing authorities have developed and submitted to get the funding are increasing renewable energy usage, promoting diversification, especially by supporting medium enterprises, and of course mitigating the social and employment impacts. The regional authorities have been tasked with creating these territorial plans which are required for each region to get the funding and which should be developed through a participatory process, financing social dialogue with In Spain, we have a more numerous regions which are involved in the transition programs with the European contribution to the transition fund of 109 million. So more than 30% of these funds are allocated to areas, while other areas and mechanism implementation of the just transition in Spain is represented by the just transition agreements. Actually, we have now transition agreements in place, which set up a participatory process, comprehensive regional strategy to use this money for diversification. In this case, it is worth to stress that Spain already had comprehensive strategy before 2020, the national government set up in Spain the Institute of Transition, which really mobilized to revitalize the most affected areas. And then Germany, also here we have a number of areas of territory tested with almost 2.5 billion more than 30% of funds are located because funds in this field are allocated to federal governments. Then between 25 and 30% to Italia and Saxony, less than 15% to the federal governments, as I was saying, responsible for the territorial plans, development, the submission, and the implementation. And according to our results, the North Rhine-Westphalia, the hearing. Since it actively supports the adaptation of workers crisis to a variety of the just transition fund. In this case, we have found the first initiative that has been already launched, this program Coach Change, which has been launched recently, which provides job-related information for businesses.
Thanks, Marialuisa. Okay, so now in the desk research, basically we focus on the just transition plan of each territory, and we try to classify the type of action that can be included in the active labor market policy, because consider that the just transition is not all about active labor market policy, but you have also other type of action. So here, which is the amount of resources which within each region that is allocated to action that can be classified in a sense to as active labor market policy. And you see there is a lot of heterogeneity across the different territories, even across countries, because for instance in Italy, Sardinia, you have quite a large amount of resources to that compared to Taranto or maybe other territories in Spain. And the other point was also to see, so given this action in labor market policy, active labor market policy, let's see which kind of actions can be seen, let's say, basket of active labor market policy. Actually, there is a lot of rhetoric, okay? Let me say that in these documents, because it's full of things saying we will do that, training and stuff. So sometimes there is a lot of overlapping in terms of type of suggestions. By the way, we try to classify the type of action, and you see there are, for instance, in Italy, Sussex, which is Sardinia, and Taranto, which is in Puglia, the dark green means support access, transition, and demand supply aligning on the labor market, which is giving money to the public offices that should match, in a sense, the workers with the firms, or be the idea in a sense. Whereas in other places, like in Germany, for instance, you have more founding on the red part, which is educational institution, tertiary education, and education institution in terms of vocational training and adult education. We decide to keep this separated because it makes sense. Because actually, vocational training is a huge part of migrant in health that is an issue in Germany, but this is not an issue in Italy, because in southern Italy, even the native people, they want to stay there. So there is an issue of migration. So obviously you have also different instances within the basket of active labor market policies. Well, then also you have development of skills for smart specialization and adaptability of companies to changes. So quite different type of actions. By the way, the large majority is in the green bar, which is support, access, transition, and demand supply aligning on the labor market. Then we try to assess beyond the documents, beyond the things that you can read on the just transition EU documents and also territorial plans. Let's see what is the state of implementation of these actions. So we carried out few, I have to admit, because it's very hard to speak with the managing authorities. By the way, we carried out some semi-structured interviews, and we hope also to increase the number in the next month. Which people? So the GTP coordinator at the European Commission, Director General for Regional and Urban Policies, so at the EU level. Then we have the managing authorities. This means Sardinia and Apulia, and also representative for the German Trade Union Federation, which is actually an umbrella organization for 8 trade unions in Germany. No, we did not do the same for Italy, because in Italy, trade unions seems more focus on the automobile industry. So the coal industry is out of the scope so far, the elections. So in fact, we had some chat, and they said, well, we are not caring too much about this, but because we are more focused on the issue of the supply chain of the automobile car industry. So that's why. The main question, obviously, shape according to the interviewee. State of implementation. So what are you doing? What is the stage of implementing this action that you specify in the national plan? And are these effective or not effective? What do you think about? If you can say some strengths and weaknesses of the GTF with respect to the active labor market policy. What emerged from the interviews? Let me say that, first of all, it's a very preliminary assessment, because the plan started in 2021. So we are in 2024, but it seems that we are in a preliminary stage. This is very crucial for Italy, and both managing authorities in Sardinia and Apulia are involved in a preliminary activity of mapping the initiatives already existing in the field. And for Italy, there is in fact this issue of the National Resilience and Recovery Plan. So it's also an issue of coordination, different type of policy, because if you don't know, the Italian National Resilience and Recovery Plan consists, has a lot of resources, even in terms of active labor market policy, such as the GO initiative. This one of this program. So there is an issue of overlapping, and they are very much concerned about that. So the managing authorities say, well, okay, we are trying to mapping what is already on the floor, and we would like to avoid duplication, and this stuff. Also in Sardinia, there is a first tender, but no evidence available yet. It signals extreme caution in the starting phase of the implementation at the local level from the side of the managing authority. In Germany, the stage is a little bit different, because in Germany, some programs, as Marialuisa said, are already running, such as this Fit for Future and Coach for Change, which means the state is paying someone going in a company and helping the owner or the management to better understand which will be their role in the future concerning the reshape in the value chain, and also the change in the industrial production of the area. This is the coach for change. So I pay a coach that comes in your company and helps you to positioning better your company in the new reconfiguration of the industrial structure. And then also so that is addressed to companies and workers that can get, as I said, a coach or a consultant to support new training activities and business development. For Spain, no news. They have not replied yet, but we are quite confident. So at the level of the European Commission, she said, well, we know that the program is going quite slow. The slow and heterogeneous implementation of the GTF action is confirmed even by the European Commission. Overall, consider that only about 6% of the GTF total allocation has been spent so far in March 2024. The program started in 2021 and will end in 2027. So there is a lot of delay. The action of upskilling and reskilling appear to be even more delayed with respect to the others. Mind the GTF is not only about active labor market policy, but it is a part of the GTF. Although the rate of spending is not very high, at European level, there is confidence about the speeding up of the overall programs in the coming months. Why? Because they are going to activate a sort of technical assistance service mechanism that should enhance the implementation at the territorial level. The second point we try to focus on is the planning and implementing effective or not effective upskilling and reskilling. And so in this sense, three main issues arise. The first one, as I said, is coordination across policies. Upskilling and reskilling intervention need to be coherent with the more general strategy of development of this territory. This is a quote from the interview of the managing authority of the Apulia region. She said, well, if those initiatives addressed the company aim to shift the attention away from what was the previous source of income, to the steel plant that is located in this area, the diversification strategy must consolidate, and the initiative, meaning the training, support, or must, however, be coherent. So we cannot send out tenders concerning training because we might not be able to match the needs of the company that are going to be established or consolidated. So they do not know actually which kind of training they need to provide, because there is a sort of need of coordination between the part focusing on diversification of the production structure and, on the other hand, to finance some sort of training, reskilling, and so on. Second point, effectiveness of training policies requires the design of targeted and tailored intervention. When you think in people affected, workers in this case affected by the GTF, you should by the shutdown of the steel industry, of the coal industry, you have to think that you can have very different situations in terms of education, in terms of age, and so on. So they see at the local authority, they see they know the issues. Okay, so they would like to focus, provide very target type of intervention. Let's see if this will be the case. But in terms of planning of the action, they know that the very target and tailored intervention are required because you have very different situations. Then there is an issue of uncertainty. This is very much related to what was explored this morning, the lack of proper industrial policy, more than a technical issue. So local authorities did not have a problem of technical issues. They know that the European Commission, there is someone that can help them down the coal, how to develop the financing plan and so on, the budget, the accounting issues. The problem is about the lack of a vision of these territories, the lack of an industrial policy. And so in this sense, the problem is not so much skill mismatch, but the mismatch deriving from uncertainty. This is a point that was highlighted also by the German union representative with respect to the German situation, which is, of course, very different from the Italian southern Italian situation. So when it comes to critical issues and opportunities of the GTF in the field of active labor market policies, opportunities, this is something that was pointed out by the Apulia managing authorities and also the EU officers, saying, well, you should be happy because you have money. You will get money, more money with respect to the other fund that you already have. So there is an additionality of resources targeted at subnational level that cannot be spent elsewhere. So obviously this should be valued in the sense that you have money eventually to create something more in future for yourself, for your community. In this sense, the just transition is a sort of a tool allowing for a strategy of socioeconomic change start becoming a reality in the areas involved. It's a way for community to start thinking differently their common destiny, strategy that becomes concrete impacts expected to deliver their effects in the long run. This is another point concerning the timing. So they know that the timing of the plan is very short because, come on, I mean, we are talking about radical transformation and the end of the fund is 2026, 2027. So the time is very short. Timing is very short. But they say, both at the European Commission and even at the level of managing authority, that by the way, this is the beginning of a path. So you should start thinking now with this money, which will be your future, even when the money will not have any more money to the GTF. Critical aspects, as I said, there is one big problem, which is similar targets of beneficiaries, such as in the case of Italy. So same people can have the similar training with different type of funding. All initiative, which is very similar programming logic, but funded by the National Resilience and Recovery Plan, then the GTF and other type of intervention. So overlapping policies, measures, and intervention risk diminishing their effectiveness, particularly because they are managed by different administrative level. So someone was mentioning this in the morning. So there is an issue of coordination among administrative levels. Horizon, as I said, 70% of the GTF is required to be spent by 2026. Only 6% has been spent in 2024. So we have few years to spend this money, hopefully in an effective way. So in extremely limited time horizon for the ambition of the program. Other point, criticality that emerged from the interview was, well, the GTF creates differences and inequalities among territories and among sectors. Why? Because there is an issue between large and small companies. Large companies are excluded, officially excluded from the program. The focus should be more on small and medium enterprises. But these small medium enterprises have greater difficulties in retaining their workforce, their workers in some places, and also in envisaging and planning adequate training activities for future because they are unable to identify their current and future skill needs. A further difficulty of small business enterprise is connected to their involvement in traditional activities. So when you are going to finance training for digital competencies and other stuff, but the small company is retail company is specialized in very traditional activities. So there is obviously something not well designed. And it seems that the level of managing authority, this was the case of Sardinia, they know that. Generalized difficulty with the planning for the training activities. The EU officer said, well, we know there are gaps, for instance, as regard identification of needs for vocational training, or there are gaps in terms of involvement of research institution or academia. So at some point, the university was there saying, well, it's your fault. You are not helping us in defining right skills that are needed. But of course, there are also heterogeneity according to the states. Well, we asked the same question to the European Commission officer saying, okay, but are you going to provide some suggestions in terms of skills for this, for the content of the vocational training for the training initiatives? They said, well, actually, it's not our task, but this is more a DG employment task. So the GT platform does not directly provide any specific advice or guidance on which skills should be acquired by workers benefiting from the program, because this is more something that the DG employment should do. So main results, first of all, lack of a clear identification of skill needs. GTF regions suffer from negative structural features. Of course, there is an issue of power dependency in terms of industrial structures of these territories. And also in the rhetoric, I mean, I don't like very much the term brain drain, but it's something that emerges from the interviews. We are talking about places where there is a lot of migration due to the lack of good employment perspective for young people. There is in some other places, such as Germany, integration of migrant workers who beg for other type of interventions, such as recognition of education and training certification they acquired in their countries of origin. So this is something that should be kept in mind. The interviewee's analysis also highlights that the transition to a new socioeconomic model is not only a matter of training and skills, but requires innovation, industrial policy, they said that. So they know that there is this issue. And also there is a cultural attitude in the sense that people, some places think 50 old years people, they identify themselves with all the industries that have provided employment opportunity for generations. So in some cases also there is an issue of identification with the core industry. So wrapping up and going to the conclusion, what we can say, sure, it's too early to provide a full assessment of the GTF, okay? Because this is something that we can do at least in a couple of years, and maybe hopefully taking advantage of worker level data to study transition from one employment to another. The second point, there is an issue of aligning policy intervention with existing labor market dynamics. As Marialuisa said, if we have a polarization and downskilling dynamic in Italy, and specifically in southern Italy, of course, this is very different from a dynamic of labor market dynamic that you can have in Germany or in other contexts. Trade unions are involved or not? Well, if we look at the documents, European documents, it seems so. Trade unions formally involved in the process. But is this a myth or reality? Because we are not able, there was a little bit of, not sure in the sense that the trade union is involved already in the design phase of these training initiatives in Germany, but not clear in other places. As I said, the story of Italy is a little different. So we should keep monitoring how this involvement of trade union is a reality or is just a rhetoric that we haven't got. There is a problem of coordination effort required among administrative levels, also because the issue of additionality of funds, of substitution. Timing of the GTP quite critical concerning the radical emphasis that put forward by the EU regarding the ecological transition. There is an issue of uncertainty and general lack of planning regarding the specific skills needed for the transition. And it is quite clear when it comes to the vision on what this territory will be in the next 20 years. And last point is green jobs. This is a question. Green jobs are good quality jobs. We are taking for granted that, but actually this is an underlying assumption that we see in a lot of official documents, but it's not clear that it should be the case. So employment in green activities and green jobs will inherently ensure better employment condition and job quality. Is this the case? We should monitor that because we are not, we should pay attention to avoid that we put people from the coal industry to the retail sector maybe, and they get even worse paying and contractual conditions. So this is something that we should really monitor. Need to avoid that poor quality jobs will be offered to affected workers. An interesting campaign from this point of view is the climate job campaign, which point to the fact that it's not just about quantifying how many jobs can be created or destroyed, even created if we think the fact that we can create jobs, transition, which sector, which companies, and most importantly, demonstrating that this is mutually reinforcing the relationship between employment, climate policies, but this can happen only through a democratic planning driven by the public initiative. This is very important to monitor through a public initiative the transition to create good quality jobs, to avoid what some sociologists have labeled as a toxus deindustrialization, where when you have the coal industry disappearing and people being unemployed in the same areas. Well, and also let me say that this morning, Claudio was saying there is sometimes a conflicting interest between being employed or citizens. This is actually the case where you can have something like that. I had the opportunity to do interviews in the area of Taranto almost 15 years ago. And I remember that in the same family, in the same household, you can have the employee of the factory, one that now should be closed, saying, no, we would like to keep working on this, even if very polluting, because at least it's a wage, it's something that allows us to be alive. And in the same household, you have the wife say no, but we should close the factory because actually the factory is very polluting and it can be damaging even for our children in the future. So, and actually it's very interesting that the same trade unions changed their position over the years, because at the beginning they were supporting the activity of the plants. Nowadays, we are all saying that this plant should be closed. But it's very important to think in which kind of jobs we'll do in the future. Well, I close here, and that's it.